Hi, it's Lucas from Evoker, and I'm just going to go through this really quick video on creating a SparkPlug using a spline loft. This first video is going to assume a basic knowledge of 3D Studio Max, but if you can't keep up, don't worry, because there is going to be another video to follow. So to start off with in this one, I've already set up my blueprints in the scene. The blueprints are just pulled straight from Google, so I didn't have to draw anything up myself because I was able to get this nice blueprint image straight from Google. If I create a box in the middle of the scene here and just extrude that up, you can see that it's about 10 centimeters long, which is about the size of the spark plug that I wanted. So I just delete that out. And also important, make sure that you have your units set up correctly. So in this case I'm using centimeters, and 1 unit should equal 1 centimeter. It needs to be set up that way to make sure that's the correct scale when you export it out of 3D Studio Max. Okay, so let's just go to the front viewport, and we're going to start off with create a line. So just left click, hold shift and left click to make sure the line is very straight. I just want to move that, so hit W to move. Let's just right click to get it in the center of the scene. So we just want to right click to bring that to X equals 0. I'll just turn the grid off and you can see that line is in the middle of the scene there. Okay. Go to the modifier tab and let's go to vertex mode. I'll just move that up to make sure that's at the top of the spark plug. I'm going to move this bottom one to line up with that part of the spark plug there. Okay, so we have our line. Now I'm going to create an n-gon, which is a 6-sided like a spline, and we're going to shift and drag to make a copy of that as well. Hit OK, and in the modify tab for the second one that you've made, let's just check circular. So we're doing that just to the circle for this part, the n-gon 6-sided for this part, like the hex nut. And the reason why we do that is because they have the same number of edges in them, whereas if you just go through and create a circle, it'll have a different number of edges and won't map up very well, but that'll be explained in the other video that I've done. So let's just select back on our line, and we're going to, under the Create tab, Geometry, we want to go to Compound Objects and Loft, and first off, Get Shape. Let's get our cylinder. So we've got the cylinder there. Just slide this path along a little bit, which if I just go into wireframe, you can see the little yellow X. Slide that, Get Shape. Let's choose the n-gon. So just F3 back, you can see that there now. So in the Modify tab, choose Shape. So now you can select and move each of those ones that you've made. But before we do that, I'm just going to turn down the detail level. So in our skin parameters, just going to turn the path steps down to 5, down from 5 to 0. So you can see now that if I select that shape, it only puts the edge loops around where I've selected to actually put the shapes in. So I'm just going to hit Alt X to make that go semi-transparent. Then I can scale these down. I can scale that first one down there, and then I'm going to hit W for move, hold down Shift and drag. Then I'm going to go copy, and as you can see there, that's created a new edge loop. So I just want to do that to go the whole way down the whole spark plug. So we map in all these little bits of detail. So let's just grab that one there. And again, it can be scaled in till it matches up. Hit W to move, Shift and drag. So I've got the hex area in there. I just need to put this detail into the middle, so I'm just going to go through that. Might fast forward it a bit while I'm doing it, just to get through the progress really fast. So a bit of trick with doing some of these is if I select one and then I can hold Control and select another one, then if I go to scale, I can scale those both down together. Saves you a bit of work with that, but also if I go through to, so let's drag select all of those, and I just shift drag, hit OK. I can actually do multiple lines at a time, and that'll do all these little segments for me all at once, so it just saves me a lot of work with individual scaling and dragging on those. So when we get to this final one, we just want to scale it to the inside of the thread, because we are going to build the thread over the top with a different modifier a bit later. And that's all pretty good there as far as all the geometry goes. Let's hit Alt X so it shows. Let's just turn off display selected with edge faces. We can see it follows the blueprints pretty well and goes all the way down. From there, let's just go back to the perspective. Hide unselected. And that's all looking pretty good. Okay, so moving along from this, just with a sort of fairly speedy work progress, going to convert to an editable poly. Now we're going to name that M underscore SparkPlug. Okay, so a couple of areas that I did want to fix up. One of the main ones was through the middle here. These verts, I want that to be a flat face through there, so you can see it is actually angling up a little bit. So I'm just going to go through and select them, and I'm going to make them planar along the Y direction. So again, for these ones on the bottom, Y, and these ones up here, make them planar on the Y. So then we can start going into setting up some of the smoothing groups. So the easiest way to do that for me is select the whole thing, clear all, set them all to 1. Right, now I can go through and pick the individual areas that I want to have as a different smoothing group. So that's one of them. It's one through there. Smooth on those. I'll actually turn that up a bit. It's good. Bring this down. So you can see you've got nice hard edges through there. Same for this one here. We'll turn that up. A little smooth. A little smooth. We'll select that whole area and just deselect the other parts. 40. We'll smooth that. Final face. Just do the very front one. Okay, so now we've got all the smoothing groups set up on that. Might just do a separate one for the top. That edge around there looks pretty. So if I shift click and then, if I select a polygon and then hold shift and select another polygon in line with that, it'll loop around and do a full selection. So that's a quick way of doing selections for faces like that. So there we go. Just got that last bit there. Pretty happy with that. Right, let's do a bit of extra modeling on the tip of this. So right at the very tip of the SparkPlug, from our images that we found, we're doing this sort of thing. So let's just model that detail in now. For the tip of this, we could bevel and extrude to get all the little pieces that we need, but I'm just going to do a slightly more advanced method where I'm going to delete that face off, and then by going through and selecting border, so that's selected the border around there, so I can then from there choose the scale tool, set these to view, so choose a scale tool, and by holding shift and scaling that inwards, it'll actually create a new edge and all the other edges to join it up. So I'm just quickly going to go through and just like by holding shift and either moving or scaling, creating new edges and new geometry. Okay, when I get to the very end of it there, I can actually go down and I can click cap, and that'll put the cap back on it. So because we've created new edges there, our new faces there, they don't have any smoothing groups, so we'd already done it for the rest of the model. So we'll just go through and quickly set up some smoothing groups on those. Grow selection. And let's make that 2. I want these to be a separate one around there, so I just do the select and shift select move to go around. So I'll auto smooth that, auto smooth that, same on the inside here, auto smooth that, shaded, and do the same, that one there. So pretty happy with that and how that works. So with the smoothing groups done, let's get the thread onto it. So for the thread, we're going to go to create, and again geometry, but we want to go down to dynamic objects, and that'll give us the option of doing a spring. So let's pull that spring out there. We just hit W and we'll just align that back in with the middle. On the modify tab for the spring, turn the diameter up so it's around about the same as the bottom part of the spark plug, and the same for just lift it up a little bit and then adjust the height so it just disappears into the top of the washer. So we will put more turns on it, but before we do that, I want to change the sides, turn that all the way down to 3, and also the smoothing groups, so it only smooths by a side, so that gives us a nice sharp edge around the outside of that. So now we can go back up and let's go turns, no, that segment turns, it's not the one that we need at the moment, this one. So turn that up until you have a nice, what looks like a good looking thread. So now we want to match up the actual segment turns with the turns that are on the geometry there. So as you can see, as we add there, it's adding in more detail, but the easiest way to see that is if you go to the top view, and you can actually turn up the segment turns until you can see like that, all these edges are lining up. So then it is in line with the rest of the model. So just back to the perspective view there. You can see all that threads there, pretty good. I'll just turn the height of it. There we go. That's just inside. Okay. So I can now select the spark plug. Let's go down here, attach, and attach that thread on. So the last part that we need is just the little part that extrudes out, where the it's actually the ground for the spark, so where this part will spark across to. I'm just going to do that by selecting these two faces here, hit extrude, okay, and just extrude a small bit. I'll just go into the side view because it's going to be a bit better for that. Okay, so we can adjust that now. There, so let's extrude again. That should be enough. Go into edge mode. We're going to go across and select these ones. What we want to do there is connect. We're going to put 4 edges across there because we're going to put a nice bend onto this. So with that selected, then go to polygon mode, select all those little bits at the end that you want to bend. From the drop down modifier list, we want to select bend. So it's really important that you have those polys selected when you do this, because otherwise it'll apply the bend to the whole model, where we just want to apply it to just those polys that we had selected. So again, I can turn up the angle of this. It is bending it in the wrong direction, so we just want to check through the boxes and get it bending in the right direction. Okay, so that is actually, so it's bending sideways, so we can change that around to, so let's go, this will be -90. Okay, let's go back to this viewpoint. So you can see that we've got that there, and we do a 90-degree bend. So it's doing the bend, but it's bending it from the wrong area. So if you click on the bend modifier here, you can actually go to the center, and you can slide that up, and then you can get it bending in the correct place for us. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to right click, collapse to, yes, hold. So that's just warning us that we will be losing our modifier, and that's fine because that's what we wanted to do. So just going to select that, Alt deselect those, so I've got the front face selected, and we're just going to extrude again, not quite that far. I want to go to about there, hit tick. So again, because this is all freshly created geometry, it won't have the smoothing groups on it, so we'll just select that again and go through, and 45 should be good, and we'll just auto smooth that. So now we want to double check that there is smoothing groups applied to the whole model. So we can check that by, actually if I select by smoothing group, select everything, hit OK, and just make sure that there aren't any faces that aren't selected, so any faces that don't have smoothing groups. And that all looks pretty good. So there we are, there's our high-res SparkPlug ready for rendering out normal maps or doing some nice close-ups for UI. So next we'll go into unwrapping the UVs and texturing the SparkPlug.